What's up, TCU Nation? We have, for the first time since 1955, finished a season with the Horned Frogs having exactly 9 wins, and they got a pretty cool clay pot to show for it. So we're going to talk all through this New Mexico Bowl. I got a couple of big takeaways for y'all. Then hopefully we'll get to some of y'all's call-ins. We'll talk about this offseason, the transfer portal, all these fun things, and get ourselves ready for 35 straight weeks of hearing about nothing but Bill Belichick. So let's get right into it. Before we get started, though, you know I need a couple of things from you. Namely, you gotta subscribe to the show, okay? You might be watching this on the Big 12 channel. Great! Subscribe to the Big 12 channel at Big 12 Voice of College Football. There it is right there. Also, make sure that you subscribe to the TCU channel, too. This is where we're doing all of this stuff, right? At TCU Voice of College Football. See, we've made it very easy for you to figure out exactly how to find these channels. So do that. I, of course, am your host, Clint Foster. Welcome to TCU Postgame Live, New Mexico Bowl Celebration Edition. And also, follow me. You people know you got this is the world that we live in. Follow me on Twitter at Clint_Foster55. Follow my YouTube channel at Clint Foster Comedy. Y'all, I have been hard at work on this documentary passion project of mine that I know I have made y'all aware of about the Alamo Bowl, 2015 Alamo Bowl, and Bram Kohlhausen's recovery since his accident, and just all about the unbreakable spirit of Texas. I am probably like 25% done editing this thing. Just got another interview done today that I'm excited about including, and a whole another crop of interviews in January coming. So, stay tuned for that. And hopefully I'll have some time here to turn around TCU fans videos for you for Cincinnati, for the bowl game. And, my usual off-season fall drawl, right? A lot of fun stuff to talk about. And we'll see here shortly if Iowa State is going to be able to complete the comeback in the Pop-Tart Bowl, get the most majestic of all Pop-Tart related trophies. So there's my information. Follow me. And if you want to call into the show here today, if you look in the chat, all right, I've got a link there for you right there. You just hit that little link, copy that into your browser, and, we'll bring you on the show. We'll talk about the Frogs until, you get a little too unhinged, and then maybe we'll usher you out the door very slowly. But you are welcome to call in. I'd love to have you to talk about the Frogs. So TCU wins. Frogs win, 34-3 over Louisiana Lafayette. I'm going to go ahead and call them what I've always called them, the Ragin' Cajuns of Louisiana Lafayette. Pretty much exactly how I wanted this game to go down, right? A dominant performance. You see a lot of good things from guys who are going to contribute next year. And overall, that leads us to my first takeaway from this game. Frogs finished the season strong, right? Especially when you think about how this season got started, right? The 3-3 start to the season and all of the hand-wringing coming from yours truly and worrying after that Houston loss especially. But look at this. After Houston, the Frogs went, what do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-1 down the stretch with a New Mexico Bowl victory. Hey, man, that ain't nothing to sneeze at. The coaches turned this team around, and, I have been very transparent about not being excited about the New Mexico Bowl. A lot of y'all on Twitter have been very transparent about why the hell are we playing in this bowl game? We're better than this, right? We were watching Texas Tech get embarrassed by Arkansas. We're like, we should have been playing against Arkansas. We could have beaten Arkansas, all of this stuff. But hey, the team was excited to play. And that is a huge credit to this team, huge credit to this coaching staff. They came out, they played their game. They clearly asserted themselves as the better team. And this is a fantastic building block going into next season. Devil Frog, yes, 9-4 does feel like a down year. And you know what? When you're in a position where 9 wins can feel like a down year, you're doing all right. You're doing pretty daggum good. Okay, so I will absolutely take 9-4 to down year. And we'll talk about how this can be such a great building block going into next season. Josh Hoover breaks the single season record for passing yards. He's about 60 yards shy of 4,000 yards on the season. Could have been, maybe next year, could have been the first ever TCU quarterback with 4,000 yards passing. But he finishes with 252 yards on the day, 4 touchdowns. That's nothing to sneeze at. 1 bad interception, which, it is what it is. Let me get that final number. Okay, here we go. 3,697 yards, 23 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Pretty dadgum good year for the Hoove, especially when you consider how one-dimensional TCU has been really for the entire season, right? Josh Hoover is the guy who's moving the offense. And you saw a lot of contributions, with you hate not having Savion and Jack Besh for one more game, just to send those guys out, right? And they're such talents. But you got a lot of contributions from other guys. This was our big JP Richardson game, right? 5 catches, 53 yards, and a touchdown. But even more so, now you're really excited about, guess who? Eric McAllister, 8 catches, 87 yards, and that beautiful touchdown in the back of the end zone there when Josh Hoover is kind of scrambling and trying to make something happen. And there's Emac waiting there in the back of the end zone. Fabulous stuff. And hey, remember how Drake Dabney's on this team? Yeah, right. That tight end that we got from Baylor. Didn't see much from him all year, but 3 catches for 73 yards. Could have had a touchdown right there in the breadbasket that he drops. But, good contributions from the former Baylor tight end. And is he coming back next year? He's a senior. So I don't know. Who the hell knows with red shirts and this, that, and the other, if he's got another year of eligibility. My assumption is that he is gone after this year. But we did see DJ Rogers, right? DJ Rogers, he'll be back next year, and he got himself a touchdown as well on one that Josh could have easily just run in. But yeah, very, very strong end of the season. And I think I really want to give flowers to the defense. Okay. Andy Avalos proved unequivocally today that he is the man for the TCU DC job. Man, this defense has improved leaps and bounds. And, I had people in the group chat and my friend group chat being like, oh, it's Louisiana. Who can, you can't get too excited. I don't care. You know what? Kirk Herbstreit, cry in your beer here for a moment. 10 wins is 10 wins. Okay. If you're winning 10 games in the Sun Belt, you're doing something right. I don't care what conference you're in. All right. And the defense was dominant today. I mean, I felt like I was having Mountain West flashbacks, right? We're blowing out a team in New Mexico, right? But listen to these numbers. This is crazy. 95 yards passing and 2 interceptions. Ben Woolridge, their big touted senior quarterback is coming back. He writes this heartfelt letter to his mom that has the sideline reporter crying. Holy mackerel, what are we doing? 7 of 20 for 61 yards, y'all. I mean, that's dominant. This is like vintage. It reminded me of 2007. TCU's playing in the Poinsettia Bowl against Northern Illinois. Similar situation, where it's kind of like, this was kind of a down year. And now we're in this kind of okay bowl game against this lesser team. We feel like is a lesser team. But, oh my God, look out. Garrett Wolf. He's maybe the best running back in the nation. Shut him down. Just absolutely shut him down. And you got to love a performance like that. Now, we didn't shut down Louisiana's run game, 114 yards, but 3.5 yards a carry, right? That's 114 yards on 33 carries. So total offense, I'm a history teacher, y'all, but 114 plus 95, right? That's a little over 200 total yards. That's absurd, right? That's a great job by the defense, putting pressure on the quarterback, 3 sacks, as I recall, 2 interceptions, just beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful performance by the defense. And you love to see them really coming into their own. I felt like Stanford, there was a lot of flashes of, hey, this defense could be good. And then throughout the year, we're like, is it? No. The run defense is not great. And we're missing pieces, but we had everybody healthy. Marcus Deal's back in there. We've got and we've also got, great JUCO defensive linemen coming in for next year. A lot to be excited about this TCU defense. A lot to be excited about. What else you got for me, Devil Frog? Moving forward, this team has to improve their mental preparedness. There were way too many turnovers and penalties this season. That is true. But to their credit, they appeared to be mentally prepared for this game, right? And this is a very easy game, this New Mexico Bowl against Louisiana Lafayette. This is a game that's very easy to not be mentally prepared for. And they were ready to play today. They were ready to play. And as I see you there in the chat as well, Devil Frog, 4 quarters of dominance today. We haven't seen that all year. absolutely. I was thinking after every single game of this last stretch, where we're winning, we went like 5-1 before the bowl game, right? I still kept saying to myself, well, we still haven't played a complete game, right? I mean, even when you look at Oklahoma State and Arizona, as dominant as those ones were, I was like, well, there's still times where it's like, well, that quarter was kind of crap, or we didn't execute in this phase of the game. We executed in every phase of the game. We really did. And I got to tell y'all, I'm very excited. I've already been on the Payne train. I'm the captain of the Jeremy Payne train. All right. So, climb aboard. Loved what I saw from Trent Battle. Loved what I saw from Nate Palmer. Okay. He hit that first carry and I was like, oh my God, that's the kid from Decatur. That Palmer Payne combination next year could be very fun. And I can't remember if Trent Battle's coming back. Let me see if I can figure that. Oh, Trent Battle's coming back too. So potential for a nice little three-headed monster there. Cam Cook, bon voyage, wish you well and all that, but maybe you were part of the problem, brother. You gotta sit here and say, I mean, we didn't fully execute in the run game. I mean, we really didn't run the ball any better than they did. In fact, the stats are almost identical. Both teams had 33 carries. They had 114 rushing yards. We had 110. So that's 3.5 yards per carry for them, 3.3 for us. That ain't great, right? We passed the ball extremely well. We did not run the ball well. And that leads me to my last takeaway and the thing that concerns me the most when we're looking forward to next season is this O-line still needs work, right? Particularly after that one goal line possession that ends with the pass in the back of the end zone to Eric McAllister. You've got not one, not two, but 3 opportunities from the 1-yard line to punch this ball in against a physically inferior team. All right. No shade, Louisiana. Well, maybe a little bit of shade, Louisiana Lafayette, but this is a physically inferior team. You need to be able to push this ball across the goal line. And I had people in the chat, why are we doing this? Well, if I'm Sonny Dykes and I'm in a bowl game, I'm like, listen, O-line, show me something. This is a game we're clearly going to win. You need to show me that you can push this ball in, and they couldn't do it, right? And I loved seeing Ryan Hughes get some time. I loved seeing Ben Taylor Whitfield get some time. But you got to look in the portal here and get at least one more big piece for this offensive line moving forward, I think, to next season. I wouldn't go as far as to say that Ricker, the offensive line coach, I don't think you need to move on from him. I don't see anything coaching-wise wrong with what these guys are doing. I think it's more of a skill issue than a technique issue, like coaching technique issue. But something needs to click with this O-line because TCU's got an opportunity to have a very solid season next year. Really, truly has an opportunity, even with a more difficult schedule, theoretically, to compete for the conference title. But you need the offensive line to come along. And we got our first call in. So Jackson Johnson, wearing his Alabama hat, maybe semi-sacrilege on a TCU. Jackson, how are you doing, friend?
I'm doing pretty good. How have you been on this fine day, Clint? And how's your Christmas been?
Well, Christmas was fantastic, and today's been great. Like I said, I got a new interview in the bag for my documentary that I'm working on, and I watched the bowl game with my grandpa, so that was fun. And yeah, now I'm doing this.
There we go.
Yeah.
Congrats on a fine victory against Louisiana today. How about that?
Yeah, we got ourselves a clay pot for the trophy case. Something I never knew I needed, right? But now it's there forever.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious to see what the 2025 season is going to look like. I hate that's going to be the last time that for the foreseeable future as of right now that we see TCU and SMU playing one another. Like,
Yep.
If I had it my way, they'd be playing each other annually.
Oh, I agree. I agree totally. And I may be one of the only TCU fans that feels that way. I love that game. I have always relished the opportunity to beat up on them. And now I feel like we've gotten what a lot of TCU fans have been wanting. Like they want this game to mean something again. They want SMU to be good. Well, they're good again. Right. So maybe the new athletic director brings the game back. I would love to continue seeing the Iron Skillet game. But yeah, got to win this last one for sure.
For sure. And I got a feeling that this bowl victory can set up some momentum for 2025. So, I mean, that could be a good thing going right there. Bring back some of that 2022 magic.
Yeah, I agree with you 1,000%. I mean, this game was all about go in there, execute, and give yourself some positive momentum moving into the offseason and moving into next year. Look at this as like a week 0 game, right? And it was good. That's one of the things that was good, like I was saying about, yeah, you hate to not have Savion and Jack Besh, but this forces some other guys to step up and contribute, guys that you're going to have to be looking at next year. And I liked Sonny's insistence of going back to the run game as much as possible. Let's see if we can get some positive things happening in the run game. But yeah, overall, I mean, you can't sneeze at a 34-3 win for sure.
No, you can't. I mean, that is for sure. And as of right now, the second half of the Pop Tarts Bowl is a low scoring game. But the first half was high scoring, so we've got a good thing going there. Can't wait to see the Alamo Bowl. That's going to be great tonight.
That is going to be a good one. Yes, that is going to be a good one. I'm very excited to watch, as Jake Retzlaff called it, the People's Big 12 Championship. Whatever that means.
I love that one.
Yeah.
At least I'm hoping Jesse Palmer's not calling that game.
Yeah, with any luck.
He's more worried about the Bachelor and Food Network than he is about the Big 12 from what I've seen of them.
Clearly. Jackson Devil Frog wants you to know that TCU is the Alabama of the Big 12. And I think I'll take that.
Oh man, that's pretty funny. I like it.
I'll tell you one thing though, since if we're talking about the this and that of other conferences, Oklahoma is the new Nebraska. Okay, I need to bring this up on the Big 12 channel, but I was thinking this whenever they left for the SEC originally. I was like, this is not a good move for them. It looks just like Nebraska leaving the Big 12 to go and be in the Big 10, and they're leaving all of their historic recruiting ground and all of their historic rivalries, and it just doesn't feel like the right fit. And Nebraska's been languishing now for 15 years in the Big 10. And we might just see that from Oklahoma, I think, in the SEC.
Here's another comparison you might think about: Miami to the ACC.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen a lot of this. Or Dishfish brings up Arkansas. Arkansas, hey, back in those Southwest Conference days, it was Texas and Arkansas, right, all the time. And then they go to the SEC, and I mean, outside of a couple of good basketball seasons, what has Arkansas done in the SEC? They had Darren McFadden, I guess. Right.
And the 2010 season where they went to the Sugar Bowl, and 2011 where they were like the best team that lost to two of the best teams in all college football, where it was like
the banner.
That was like their banner was like, oh, but we lost Alabama, LSU. It's like, really? You can't brag about beating one of them?
Yeah. Hey, but those are quality losses. We love a quality loss in the SEC. Right, quality losses.
It's like it's like I know I'm guilty of doing that sometimes, but it's like I don't do that as much anymore. It's like it's just completely dumb to do that.
Yeah, but yeah, Dish. This is what I was talking about with the offensive line. Got to find a run game in 2025. You're absolutely right. We cannot continue to be one-dimensional. We got a much tougher schedule. Arizona State, BYU, and K-State all on the road. Going to have to be able to run the ball, especially in those games. Those games do concern me. I would say most on our schedule next year looking forward.
I'm thinking about that week 1 game against North Carolina, the debut of Bill Belichick. I feel like we're going to hear more about North Carolina than we are about TCU.
Oh, yeah. I feel like it's going to be just like the Deion Sanders Colorado thing all over again as far as the coverage, right? Just keep hearing about, Bill Belichick, this and that. At least coming into that Colorado game, we had just been in the national championship. So there was that selling point. But I feel like we're going to be the afterthought moving into Bill Belichick's first game. I'm really hoping
not
to
here at the voice of college football. We focus on everyone. We focus on North Carolina, TCU. We focus on everyone in all of college football, not just one team. If you love top-notch coverage on TCU football, tune in to TCU at the Voice College Football from Clint Foster himself, the one and only. And
what a beautiful plug.
And tune in to the Biggest 12 on Big 12 at the Voice College Football, where Clint Foster and friends have some magic every Tuesday night.
Hey, it is pretty magical. I will give you that. Thank you for the plug, Jackson. We should go ahead and plug the rest of the channel as well. You should be, if you love college football, you should be tuning into the College Football Show with Mark Rogers. He does it every single day. He does it on the weekends. He has call-in shows on Saturdays, on Sundays. If you're not following at VOCFB on Twitter, on YouTube, do it immediately. Do yourself a massive favor. And also, you can catch both TCU Postgame Live and the Biggest 12 on your favorite audio platform. We're on Apple, we're on Amazon, we're on Spotify, we're all of the places. So if you can't tune in live, you can't watch my beautiful face, then you can listen to me on your commute. Isn't that great? Right? All just for you. Okay, I do want to get into some transfer news that I haven't been able to talk about with y'all. Okay, well, Dishfish, what do you have to say about Belichick first? We're all going to have to learn how to spell Belichick, by the way. This is something that I'm
Belichick.
okay, perfect, perfect. This is a guy that I've talked about for most of my life, but don't usually have to spell his name. Still think Belichick up and leaves UNC in the next 2 months for an NFL job. Oh my gosh.
Well, his contract is $10 million buyout before June 1st of 2025. But then once midnight strikes on June 1st, 2025, he can only pay out a $1 million buyout. So if he wants to leave after, say, the 2025 season to go be the oldest NFL coach in the history of the NFL, he can.
Would he be? I feel like Bill Parcells, when Bill Parcells was with the Cowboys, he was like ancient.
Romeo Crennel actually holds that record.
He does. I wondered if you knew, Jackson. Yeah. Man, I don't know. I don't know what NFL team would go and get him, because I feel like the Cowboys, in theory could, but Jerry Jones would never relinquish the control that Bill Belichick would require, and he likes having. I guess the Giants. I could see that.
Because number one, they got that nostalgia of him being the right-hand man for Bill Parcells. And number two, all Bill Belichick has to say is, I want the Giants. And they'll just be like, okay, DeBall, you're going to be our fall guy. Now shoot.
Yeah. Or maybe the Browns too, actually, when you talk about places he's been in the past.
Oh, yeah. Stefanski, I fear he's going to be the fall guy. It's not like he signed Deshaun Watson. Good grief.
Yeah, so let's catch up on some of the transfer news that I know that y'all have already heard about, but we ought to talk about. Haas Haney and James Brockemeyer both leaving the Frogs in the transfer portal here this month. Both of those quite surprising and unfortunate. You do love bringing in Adam Schobel. I'm extremely excited about Adam Schobel coming in now. Voted the top Texas high school football player of the year, which is very exciting. It's also very weird to think of a Schobel throwing the ball instead of hitting the quarterback, but very excited about Adam Schobel. But Haas Haney, such a talent, a TCU legacy, very athletic. Really, really hate to see him go. The rumblings I'm hearing is maybe he's going to be in conference too, so that really sucks, playing him at either Utah or Oklahoma State potentially. But it's just so hard to keep a backup quarterback these days. It's hard to build for the future in the era of NIL. You know it, Jackson?
Yeah. Because it's like my co-host on the Alabama channel, Johnny Burns, he regularly has a venting session about the portal and all that. But I think all there needs to be is some modifications, and we're really good to go. Just like make sure everybody benefits, the coaches benefits, the fans benefit, and the players benefit. Like, especially for the bowl games.
Yeah, I was talking to a coach recently, and he was really lamenting more than anything this December transfer portal window, because he's like, they don't have 2 free agency periods in the NFL. He's like, this is such a complication for preparing for bowls, and like, you got so many things on your plate. Now you got to worry about some guys leaving because he's getting offered $300,000 more somewhere else, and he's like, there needs to be more structure to it. And I totally agree with that. And it really bums me out too when you look at how many group of 5 teams now are just basically farm teams. I mean, Tulane's got this star running back who's rushed for over 2,000 yards in the last 2 years, and now he's leaving. And I'm just thinking about growing up as a TCU fan, back when TCU was in the WAC and Conference USA and into the Mountain West, how just it would be so awful to be sitting there and like excited about LT and now he's going to go to USC or wherever else. I mean, it's just killing the game.
Yeah, I think honestly, instead of having the transfer portal in December, why not move it up to Valentine's Day?
Yeah,
Because this
around
way,
signing day. Yeah.
exactly, like just like either have the transfer portal be on Valentine's Day or just move it up to June.
Mm-hmm.
Because like this way, you got college football news. The players can be able to be like, you know what, we're not going to wait till December to. No, we're going to wait till the end of the school year. And
Yeah.
this way, the coaches can prepare for everything. I mean, it's a win for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Another thing this coach brought up to me that he's saying I wish they would do is he said there needs to be a rookie salary cap, is what he called it. He's like, because it becomes a real issue whenever you're having to offer a high school kid all this money, maybe even more money than the current. Like, let's say you got like, let's look at the situation in Michigan, right? That quarterback that went to Michigan, he got something like what, $5 million or $10 million, something ridiculous, right? There's no way that the quarterbacks in front of him are making that much money, right? And that's going to lead to a big locker room problem. And also, what if the kid's a bust, right? When kids come out of high school, Gary Patterson used to always call them paper tigers. I mean, we've seen what they can do in high school, but who knows if they're going to translate to the college ranks. And what if you've just blown $10 million on some kid who's not going to ever contribute, right? That's just a whole mess of problem for your NIL collective and encouraging people to continue to give money, and also, for the health of your team. I thought that was a really interesting point.
Yeah. Yeah, because I noticed like RAD was like saying, oh, well, the fans got like spend more money on the park. It's like, don't put it all on the fans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying we shouldn't like spend money, don't get me wrong, but it's just don't put it all on the fans. Go get like a big donor to spend money on you. Go get like somebody that's been featured in a bunch of Hollywood movies that happens to love Alabama football. I mean, it's like it works for Texas football. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, they even got Joe Rogan from the Joe Rogan Experience going to their games.
Yeah, I guess they do now. But TCU has gotten a lot of exciting transfers in, and I wish I had all of their names pulled up. But I'm very excited about that kid from Idaho coming in, the wide receiver. He seems like he's going to be a big playmaker. And two kids from Louisiana State coming in, Pimpton, the tight end, who I believe has some ties to the area, if I remember correctly, and also a defensive back, and then one offensive lineman who just seems like a giant human. I think I saw he's 6'7", 320. I'd love to get one more O lineman piece coming in as well, someone who we know can start immediately. But nice work in the portal, I think, for the Frogs, all things considered.
There you go.
And
Yeah,
Devil Frog, I think you're right. TC's quarterback, best it's ever been is hard to say, right? I mean, there was a time when we had Trayvon Boykin in the quarterback room. I guess what was it? Trayvon Boykin and Bram Kohlhausen and Foster Sawyer. That's a pretty dadgum good quarterback room, if we're being completely honest with ourselves. Andy Dalton and Casey Paha and Trayvon Boykin. That's pretty dadgum good quarterback room. But yeah, Hoover, the stock, buy stock in Hoover now, man, because it is going up, up, up. I think there is a very real scenario where we can have a Big 12 championship caliber season next year. And then Hoover, if he's putting up 4,000 yards, who knows, maybe he's sitting where Max was a couple of seasons ago. And then Adam Schobel. Yeah, there's a lot of very high ceiling for Adam Schobel. Okay, Dish, what do you got? Keep in mind, all the NFL NIL stuff rolls back in-house June 30th, 2025 with profit sharing. NIL will be very different for sure. Yeah, with revenue sharing, it is going to be a whole different deal. And Devil Frog says Schobel should be a 5-star. Yes, he absolutely should. I still am a conspiracy theorist that, like, as soon as a kid signs with TCU, any chance of him getting a 5th star just immediately goes away. I've subscribed to that conspiracy theory my entire life, and I'm going to die on that hill as well. Oh, yeah, and we got Obi Izor coming. Great. I mean, I feel very good about the defense. Very good about the defense going into next season. It all comes down to the offensive line. It all comes down to the O-line. And if we look at that schedule, Double Frog, I know that you had sent something in the chat about it. Yeah, TCU can see some serious momentum at UNC, but they have to run a gauntlet midseason. CU, ISU, ASU, and BYU in consecutive weeks. Now, I don't know that is for sure yet. I think if you're looking at college football schedules or whatever, I think it's just listing who we're playing. We don't necessarily know the order yet until the Big 12 releases its official schedule, because all the times and dates are to be determined. So that could get shuffled around. And also, we don't know, right? Going into this season, everybody thought, oh my God, the end of the year for TCU is going to be so insanely hard, right? You've got Utah, Texas Tech, Baylor, Oklahoma State, Arizona. And, 3 of those teams turned out to be completely awful. And they weren't, neither of them were Baylor and Texas Tech, right? So who the heck knows? Who the heck knows?
Agreed. I can't wait to see the 2025 Big 12 schedule get announced in a few weeks. That's gonna be fun. Like we know who's playing, but it's just we don't know who wins playing. I hope they have BYU Utah on Black Friday. That would be a smart business move. And I know like all those people say, but we can't compete with the Big Ten. No. You will by having BYU Utah on Big 12 After Dark on Black Friday. You will make a lot of money, a lot of moolah. I mean, people went nuts over BYU Utah the week that it happened. And people couldn't quit talking about Utah's AD or how BYU won. You're going to get that same kind of magic when you put it on Black Friday. It was like when people talked about how awful Georgia Tech being on Black Friday was. But then guess what? It was a banger. And
like 8 overtimes later. Yeah.
Exactly. I think you would get something like that, but bigger. It would be a humongous moneymaker. And I hope the Big 12 commissioner's watching this.
Yeah, I hope he listens to you. Brett Yormark, if you're out there, my man Jackson knows what he's talking about. All right.
We do my best.
We got some Deion Sanders conversation in the chat. I am excited about getting another crack at Colorado, whether he's there or not. But Dishfish does bring up, is Prime still the coach with all the Sanders boys gone? I mean, as long as he doesn't get offered another job, I mean, and I guess that's theoretically the NFL could come calling for Coach Prime. But I don't know. I'm not plugged in enough to know if that's, again, Deion Sanders seems like the sort of thing that Jerry Jones would do if he wasn't so in love with Mike McCarthy and all of his mediocrity. But yeah, I don't know really who else would be going after him. I feel like he's probably going to be there next year.
When you get that vote of confidence, that means you're on a huge hot seat. That's what McCarthy's going to learn.
Yeah, well, hopefully. If only, right? But yeah, a lot of games to look forward to next year. I'm hoping to be at that North Carolina game live and in person. I was hoping to do that before I got the Belichick news, just because it's a place I've never been before, and I think it'll be a fun game day atmosphere, start out the season. But yeah, a lot to be excited about with the Frogs moving forward. And y'all, we got ourselves another bowl trophy, another plaque for the stadium, and a nice little clay pot that we all can marvel at when we go to basketball games. I don't know how many of us are going to be going to basketball games this year. Women's basketball games. We're going to women's basketball games. There you go. All right. So if none of y'all else are going to call in, I'm going to go ahead and bring us home here. Like I said, first time since 1955, the Frogs have exactly 9 wins. Let's bask in the glow of that. And let's get back to winning 11 games, 10 and 11 and 12 games next year. That's what I'd like to do. But until then, please subscribe to the shows at Big 12 Voice of College Football for the biggest 12 every Tuesday night. You will not see me this Tuesday. I'm going to be out of town, but I will be back with you on January 7th. So like in case any of y'all are going to storm the Capitol on behalf of Kamala Harris. Just, tune in the next day. And then that's where you'll find me, at Big 12 Voice of College Football. And also subscribe to at TCU Voice of College Football as well. And follow me on Twitter at Clint_Foster55 and my personal YouTube channel at Clint Foster Comedy. Jackson, why don't you tell the people where they can find you too? Because they ought to be looking at you.
They can find me for more updates on what I'm doing with Alabama with the Voice of College Football and on the Jackson. You can give me a follow on Jackson BOCFD on X and on Jackson Johnson 543908 on Instagram. And you can give me a subscribe on Jackson Johnson 979 on YouTube. And if you love Alabama content, come on into Alabama Voice College Football. Stay tuned.
Rammer Jammer Yellow Hammer. And yes,
Heaven hell, Alabama.
I'm calling it right now. TCU Baylor Big 12 Conference Championship game. The hatred in that building will feed families. Okay? We're going to make it happen next year. But until then, Happy New Year. Love you. And go Frogs.